The time is 6:30 p.m. and the Louisville Planning and Zoning Commission meeting of Tuesday, July 2nd, 2019 is called to order, and we do have a quorum present. First, I would like to introduce our new member, Aram Ali. And Aram, I'd like for you to say a few words about yourself.
I don't need to stand up, do I? Hi, I'm Aram Ali, and I'm a 29-year resident of City of Louisville. Recently, I served on the Old Town Design Review Committee. I have 3 boys, all students at Louisville High School. Go Farmers! And I am a real estate agent and residential property manager by profession. And I'm happy to be here.
Thank you, Aaron. We're happy to have you. Item number 2 is approval of the minutes of the June 18th, 2019 meeting. Are there any additions or corrections? If not, may I have a motion to approve as presented?
There's a correction that could be made in the date.
Okay, so noted. The date of,
And I move that to approve as corrected.
okay. Motion by Karen, seconded by Mary Ellen. Those in favor, signify aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item number 3 is selection of the chairperson, the vice chair, and the zoning board of adjustment representative. This time nominations are now in order for the office of chairman.
I move Chairman James Davis.
Okay, there's been the nomination.
Second.
Are there any further nominations? If not, the nominations are closed and the nominee is elected by acclamation. Okay, second item is selection for the vice chair. Nominations are now in order for that office. I would like to nominate Mary Ellen for that position.
Second.
Are there any other nominations? If not, the nominations are now closed, and the nominee is elected by acclamation. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, the last item is for the Zoning Board of Adjustment representative.
I nominate Karen.
Karen loves that. Okay. Karen's been nominated. Are there any additional further nominations? If not, nominations are now closed, and the nominee is elected by acclamation. Congratulations.
I don't believe we got a second on that nomination.
I'll second.
Robert's rules, do you have to have seconds? Okay. Okay. All right, she seconded that, so. I thought if you just had one, it's by acclamation. I'm not sure you have to have a second.
I can check,
Okay, thank you if you'll do that. Item number 4 is regular hearing for plats. 4A is preliminary plat of Anthem 35 edition with 6 associated variances related to the right-of-way, widths, alleys, lot width, and control of access and clear vision areas containing 250 residential lots and 11 open space lots on 32.417 acres. This is out of the Stephen Riggs survey. It's abstract number 1088, and the William M. Brown survey, abstract number 63, zoned plan development, mixed use, which is PDMU. It's located on the west side of Summit Avenue and on the north side of the Kansas City Southern Railroad. Staff?
So good evening. There are 6 variances associated with this request. This property is within a planned development mixed use. It's a portion of the Villages at Louisville plan development, which is a very unique plan development within the city of Louisville that's intended to create a more urban density and mixed use development. This particular tract within the overall plan development was initially designated to be either townhomes or multifamily. The developer is proposing a townhome-only development, so they're reducing the density from the 700 permitted units to 250 units. They are requesting a couple of variances to our standards in our general development code that would be applicable. One is for cul-de-sac right-of-ways. We've looked at their lengths of their cul-de-sacs. They're less than 150 feet, so emergency vehicles will not need to use them to turn around. And the proposed radius is sufficient enough to allow a standard box truck and delivery trucks and so forth that regularly visit these types of places. So we have no objection to that request. The second is to allow a 45-foot public right-of-way. This would be flanked by a 7.5-foot utility and pedestrian easement on either side, where there would be the sidewalk and franchise utilities. Similar conditions have been approved in Castle Hills. The third variance is to allow a 24-foot modified alley section with 24-foot right-of-way for emergency access. And this is for homes that front on the open space area. This would allow fire service to those homes. And it would be given a street name for addressing purposes. We've done similar conditions in Vista del Lago, where homes are fronting onto the lake there. D is to allow a water line under pavement, and they're requesting that instead of putting water lines at a 15-foot wide grass-only easement, that those be installed under the street to accommodate the tighter conditions. To allow reduced lot width and control of access for single-family lots. So this would apply only to corner lots. And there's a minimum 40-foot wide lot and 20-foot control of access on streets designated as residential. They're proposing that the lot width really remain at the minimum 22 feet as required by the planned development and reduce the control of access to 15 feet. Based on this all being residential local streets with kind of slower traffic speeds and more urban conditions, staff is no objection to this request. And then to allow clear vision areas at the intersections based on AASHTO standards. Our code typically requires a 45 by 45 clear vision area at street intersections. Where they can meet that, they are, but in other situations, they're asking to use the American Association of State Highway Transportation Official Standards. That is a nonprofit group of professionals and engineers that creates recommendations based on various conditions. And so staff has no objection to that request. So staff's recommendation tonight is that the Planning and Zoning Commission recommend approval of the plat and requested variances as presented. If recommended for approval, well, this would go before the City Council on August 5th for a final decision.
So adding 700 residences in that area, there's no plan to expand Summit, right?
No, there are no plans to expand Summit. Summit was designed for industrial traffic, and we don't have any concerns about it. This is actually only 250 units. 700 were permitted by the zoning. We've had actually a TIA done that looked at narrowing Summit because of the reduced traffic. That's still being evaluated, but no, there's no plans to expand Summit, and it wouldn't be merited by the number of homes proposed.
I'm not sure I'm seeing what AASHTO is recommending other than the 45 by 45.
So the 45 by 45 is the standard in the city's general development ordinance.
Right.
AASHTO standards aren't provided here tonight, but they're a set of standards that are promoted by the organization that a lot of cities do work with and adopt. So we're comfortable with using those standards.
Okay, so we don't know what actual space we're talking about at this point.
It's a slightly reduced width, but based on the type of intersections with alleys and streets, I'm not sure if the engineer for the project can add on to that. Come to the microphone.
Hi, Amanda Mata with Graham Associates. I'm the engineer on the project. To answer the question, the dimensions from AASHTO are a little bit longer in one direction and shorter in another. So they may be slightly less restrictive than the 45 by 45, but they generally allow for a little bit longer sight distance along the street. I think they end up being around 275 feet long by 24 and a half feet wide triangle.
You come a little closer to the mic.
Yes, sorry about that.
Okay.
Do I need to repeat anything?
I heard her. but do
All of it? So just to summarize, the ASHTO triangles that are being utilized in some of the intersections are maybe slightly less restrictive, but in general will give a little bit longer sight distance than the city's standard 45 by 45. 275 feet by 24 and a half feet is typically what we've come based on the design speeds for the roads in the development.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, thanks.
Anyone else? Okay, if not, may I have a motion on item 4A?
Make a motion to approve as presented.
By John? Do you have a second?
Second.
Second by William. Those in favor signify aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And again, just for everyone viewing, this will go to City Council on August the 5th for final approval.
Okay, item 5 is a public hearing for zoning and special use permits. 5A is consideration of a special use permit for an auto repair shop on approximately 0.434 acres, legally described as Lot 1, Block A of the J.A. Salguero Addition, located at 545 East Main Street. Planned, it's zoned for Light Industrial District L1. It's requested by Eric Cortez, Global Master Planning, on behalf of Joseph A. Salguero, property owner. This is case number SUP 2019-0703.
Good evening again, Commissioners. So a little bit of history. Alex Paint and Body was originally developed in 2013. Their original application came in before the city had adopted special use permit regulations for auto-related uses. So no SUP was required at the time. They did go before the Old Town Design Review Committee for their exterior elevations. So what you see on the site today is reflective of those elevations that were approved. This is located at the intersection of Main Street and Railroad Street, right across from the Denton County Transportation Authority passenger rail station here in Old Town Louisville. And it is a high degree of visibility property. This is an area that the city has been actively engaged in pursuing planning efforts for some time, beginning with the Old Town Master Plan that was adopted in 2003, which called for this area to be zoned Old Town Mixed Use. That zoning district would not permit vehicle repair. The plan also recommended that the city encourage relocation of the industrial type land uses such as construction yards and automobile storage facilities to appropriately zoned areas. However, the city did not actively engage in rezoning the area at that time, so the zoning remained light industrial on this property. Then we had the Old Town Transit-Oriented Development Plan prepared in 2010 that specified the desired development to be mixed use at this intersection, being that it was such a prominent intersection. But again, the zoning was not changed at that time. And the only thing that really changed the regulations for automobile uses was when the special use permit regulations were adopted in 2013. And at that time, the applicant was already in the development process. So as planning efforts continued in Old Town, we adopted an update to the transit-oriented development plan in 2014, which also calls for mixed use in this area, but recognized that this was a really recent investment and was unlikely to redevelop anytime soon. What is being proposed is an expansion of the automobile repair use. They would they'd do a 575 square foot expansion that would extend south from the existing western portion of the building, which would create a U-shaped building. This would occupy some of the existing parking with work bays, which would be intended to use for disassembly of vehicles and inspections for insurance purposes. The building expansion architecture is proposed to match the existing architecture, but this would also have to go before the Old Town Design Review Committee for final approval. The landscaping on the site currently meets code minimums. It has a decorative metal fence with masonry columns and then trees planted along the right-of-way. There's no signage being requested with this SUP. However, with the additional footprint of the building, the parking requirements can no longer be met on site for this use. The applicant also owns the adjacent property and is willing to file a shared parking agreement, in which case he would have the requisite number of parking spaces. However, staff's concern with this is that would impact the future potential redevelopment or reuse of his building for something like a restaurant or retail that would have a higher parking requirement. And it would also impact the development of the adjacent site. The adjacent site currently has 2 landscaped areas that could potentially be developed for offices, and we're parked according to that. But if that parking is then designated for the auto repair use, that would limit the amount of office that could be constructed on the adjacent site. In short, section 17-29.5 of our zoning code states that SUPs need to be compatible or compliant with the surrounding area, and any adopted plans, comprehensive plans or small area plans, and they also need to contribute to, enhance, or promote the welfare of the area of the request and adjacent properties. Staff finds that this request does not meet any of the planning efforts that have been engaged since 2003 in Old Town, so it doesn't support the desired uses and goals for the area. We also find that this could actually be detrimental to development of the adjacent property with the shared parking agreement that would be required, because it would limit the amount of developable space there. It would also limit the ability of this property to be repurposed for a retail use or a restaurant use that would have a higher parking requirement. So staff's recommendation is that the Planning and Zoning Commission recommend denial of the special use permit for the auto repair shop.
Thank you. Commissioners, questions for staff? Oh,
That, if memory serves me, I thought that, that Alex has been here, basically trying to, work with the parking situation. The last time I think he was in front of us, is that right?
I don't know that I can speak to the last time that he was in front of you.
Yeah.
But the way that the site plan was designed, he did plan both the lot that the auto repair use is on and the adjacent lot. The adjacent lot contains a small parking lot, which is zoned parking district. When he submitted his original development plans, they showed a future phase where that adjacent lot with the parking could potentially have office built between the parking and the street.
anything else? Not, we'll open up the public hearing. Anyone that wishes to speak on this subject, please come forward, state your name and sign in, and talk into the microphone, please.
Good evening. My name is Jose Salguero. I am the owner of Alex Payne Body Shop in Louisville. Feel so proud, to be living in Louisville for the last 24 years. Everything around that, that we've been doing for the last 16 years with the business. We've been trying to do the best, for the community, working for the community, and to be a owner of the business, I like to be on the side of the Louisville Chamber of Commerce for the last 12 years. So I know the cycle, I know the people, a lot of people, so definitely everything that we try to do, definitely is not big extra to the building. It's not gonna recognize for probably, from the street. It's just a little bit addition, for a little extra space. For weather condition, sometimes, we have to run everywhere if it's raining, we have to write an estimate or anything like that. But most it's just for little things for disassembly vehicles, like she was saying, and that's the most ports of the commitment over here. So I just, I would say thank you for your support, and we are here. Thank you.
Good evening, members of the City of Louisville Board. My name is Eric.
Sign in, please sign in.
I already did,
Oh, you did, okay.
kind of anticipating. Certainly, according to the long-term planning for that zoning, probably this use is not compatible, but at the long term, as well, we can see Mr. Salguero as a well-recognized business community member of the Louisville Chamber of Commerce, and it's not like a greasy, spotty shop that we see probably at the Church Street, but a reputable place where excellence, order, and spotless operation is the standard. Also, I would like to address the fact that based on Old Town Master Plan and Louisville 2025 Plan Vision, Mr. Salguero and his business is a very tangible icon, which represent the vitality and sustainability values of the Louisville city, which make it compatible from business economy point of view. And finally, I would like to retake the topic that the staff just addressed a couple of minutes regarding the long-term conversion of the site. We can see an attractive structure for mixed-use purposes on the long term. So basically, we're trying to add this little structure to avoid any public view of some wreck cars that needs to be assessed and budgeted. And we need to protect the people from bad weather. Basically, it's a small structure. We are matching with the existing materials, brick materials, and we are trying to keep the volume in completely balanced. It's not nothing crazy, nothing fancy, but it's really functional. And we, as staff mentioned, parking-wise, we are good. We have an exceeding amount of parking lots available, so won't be an issue, really. Thank you for your time.
Anyone else? Okay, if not, the public hearing is now closed. Commissioners' comments? I want to make one comment. I drove by there, I think, this weekend, and it looks like you're starting to pile fenders and bumpers and stuff on the outside of the front building. Right outside of the doors, the garage doors.
Yes, we got those parts right now there because we trying to clean up the inside part, and we just trying to make it all clean up, and then it's gonna be back into the place. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyone else, Commissioners?
Is there any alternative, I suppose, that would fit the 2025 plan?
Yeah, so we don't like to bring forward things where staff is going to recommend denial. We like to try to find those compromises before we get to this point. And so we've looked at this, and Alex's Paint and Body Shop is a legal non-conforming use and can continue to operate. But we just don't see, and we acknowledge that he's done a good job of maintaining the building and the site, and meeting the architectural standards that were put before him. But it really comes down to a use issue and what the plan's calling for. Not only the 2025 plan, which wants us to emphasize Old Town, but all of the smaller plans that have focused on Old Town since then. And because it does come down to this use issue, staff really just can't support this request.
I would also like to add just the decades of planning that has gone into Old Town and this area. a lot of businesses, have wondered, if it ever will happen. Well, we are really at the cusp. Within the next 2 to 3 months, you will probably see 2 very significant and catalytic projects occurring just 1 block north of the site. We have 2 urban residential projects that will be starting to come out of the ground. They're already in permitting process, and those will really be game-changing for this area and will hopefully create additional opportunities for a lot of the existing owners. We do acknowledge that we have some great business owners. We highly respect those business owners down there for kind of holding out all these years in an area where not much has happened, but that tide is really beginning to turn this year. And we think those opportunities for additional redevelopment of some of these properties will be opportunities for these business owners to possibly think about doing something different with these sites. And this site, in particularly with its high visibility, we think the best course of action would be for him to continue operating the best that he can as this area or the redevelopment of the area continues to accelerate over the next months and following years.
Thank you, Richard. Anyone else? If not, then may I have a motion to approve or deny the special use permit for agenda item 5A?
Move to deny public hearing number 5A.
Motion by Mary Ellen. May I have a second?
I second.
Okay. Aram, second. Those in favor of this motion, please signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
We have 6 ayes, 1 nay. Okay.
So thank you, commissioners. This item will
Oh, yeah.
go for a second.
I'm sorry, Alvin's not here. I counted him, so it was 5 and 1.
Correct. Yeah, 5-1. So this item will go to City Council for a second public hearing and final decision on August the 5th.
Thank you. If nothing else, may I have a motion to adjourn?
Mr. Chairman, before you adjourn, I did have one quick announcement. The commissioners may have been receiving quite a few emails from the Texas chapter of the American Planning Association about the upcoming state conference, which would be November 6th through 8th in Waco. We will be able to fund 2, possibly even 3 commissioners to attend this conference. It looks like it is going to be an outstanding conference, a great opportunity since it is a very reasonable drive for many of you. So staff will be reaching out to you by email, but we will need to get a commitment fairly soon so we can make hotel reservations and take advantage of pre-registration early reduced registration rates. So please look at your calendars, and if you are able to go, I would encourage you to try to make that work in your schedule. It'll be an outstanding conference and good educational opportunity. Thank you.
Sir. Thank you, sir. Okay, now may I have a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Motion by Mary Ellen,
Second.
second by William. Those in favor signify aye.
Aye.
Aye. Meeting adjourned.